Chapter 9.9, Forgotten Magic by Sky. Moat became more and more upset, and then she started to choke as she cried. "Do you have any milk here?" I asked. "As if," said Puff. "I don't keep any food here." "Oh, we're all going to starve to death." I sighed. "I don't know anything about babies." "You could use your magic," said Six. "Magic? In your bag," said Six. I'd forgotten all about the bag of wishes, and I'd certainly forgotten to ask the Noesis how to use them. I panicked that it might have fallen off when I morphed into a sea eagle, but when I felt underneath my shirt, the bag Blizzard had given me was still there. Inside were 3 feathers, one from a pheasant, one from a magpie, and the last one was pink. "Darling," I thought with a smile. "The wizard gave you magic, and you didn't use any of it when all of us could have been killed?" asked Puff. "I didn't think," I said. "What sort of an idiot are you?" I felt myself blush. I really did feel very stupid. Puff was right. I'd been foolish not to remember Blizzard's instructions. We'd all been in so much danger. Moat was beside herself, screaming. My hand shook as I held the pink feather and whispered, "Please fill Moat's bottle with warm milk." "Honeyed milk," said Jemima. "She only likes honeyed milk." "With warm honeyed milk," I added quickly. The pink feather disappeared in a flash and the bottle was full. As Jemima began to feed Moat, Puff snorted. "You have no idea," he said. "Why?" I asked. "You should have said, 'Make this bottle always full of warm honeyed milk.' That way we wouldn't have a crying baby later." My heart sank and I felt my eyes filling with tears. "Do it next time," said Six. "Put the other feathers back and use them better next time." I smiled at Six, but I still felt foolish. Jem smiled at me. "I made mistakes," she said, "but I still escaped." I hugged Jem and said, "You did." As I slung the bag back over my shoulder, I felt determined that I'd use the rest of the wishes more wisely. At that moment, in the most quiet and beautiful way, I remembered something Gabriel had said to me. It was when I was still in a coma, just after Gabriel gave me my wings. He said we could fly to the outskirts of heaven. It was amazing. Below me and all around was an incredible light. From it came a warmth that made my whole body feel like it was singing with a choir that filled all the galaxies. Then Gabriel said, "Always focus on the good things you've done. Accept that you'll make mistakes, but never, ever dwell on them." I felt myself straighten up. I was determined to focus on the good. I'd been so brave that day. We'd all been extremely brave. I'd been into the Black Pond. I'd led everyone into the Noesis. I'd ridden on a dragon over the top of volcanoes. I'd dreamed up golden thoughts to lead the dragons away from Ransom Castle. And I'd helped Six to rescue Jemima and Moat. My little selves had shown so much courage for a baby, a 4-year-old, and a little girl of 6. It had been a very good day. I decided to think about all of that and to feel happy, not sad, and certainly not to feel stupid or ashamed. I felt as if Gabriel was hovering right beside me saying, "How well you've done. Don't worry about anything you could have done better. Think of everything you've done well. Jemima has been rescued and Six and Moat are safe. Six slaughtered a massive dragon that was trying to burn Jem to death. Plus, you still have 2 wishes left. You've been so brave to make friends with a dragon. Also, next time you'll know how to use your feathers. All of that, dear Sky, is very, very good." I smiled at the imaginary Gabriel floating next to me, and as I did, Puff ruffled his shoulders. I could tell that he regretted being rude. I wanted to say that it was okay, but I knew that if I did, he'd feel even worse. Instead, I said, "I'm sorry about Moat. I hope she won't cry through the night. We'll be as quiet as we can, and next time I'll do as you suggest and wish for lots of milk." "Just feed the baby," said Puff, all gruff and tired. "Moat," said Jemima. "Her name is Moat." But Puff was pretending to be asleep. Chapter 9.99, The Feather and the Food, by Sky. We were all tired and hungry as we clambered into Puff's huge bed. Little Moat was snuffling, happy as a lamb after her milk. "I don't want to complain," said Jem, "but I haven't eaten since I was kidnapped. They gave me water, but it tasted awful and my tummy's sore." As she said the words, her face crumpled up and she began to cry. I felt terrible that I hadn't even thought to ask if she was thirsty or hungry. "The feathers," said Six. "Let's ask for all the food we need to appear whenever we want it for this entire adventure." "Excellent," I said. "Let's wish for all the food we ever need any time we ever go on an adventure, and also for Puff." "He has been very kind," said Six. Jem and I nodded. "Which feather?" I asked. "The magpie," said Jem. "Grandma Athena always loved magpies." I held out the black and white feather, and we made the wish together. When the feather disappeared, we were surrounded by so much food that we could hardly see the bed. Over by Puff appeared an enormous barrel of fish. "Ew," said Six. "What a stink." "Shh," I said. "Puff might be offended." "He's asleep," whispered Six. I could see that Puff was snoring. We all smiled and felt more than a little relieved. "Poor Puff," I said. "He was relaxing when I turned up and forced him to help me." "He's kind underneath," whispered Six, "but his fish really do stink." "They do," I agreed. "When you think about it, though, he probably hates the smell of our guacamole and pita bread." Jem laughed. "And our carrot juice," she whispered. "And the blueberries smell disgusting, and the roasted macadamia nuts, ew, and the pink lemonade." Six giggled. "He would hate the salted caramel ice cream too." We could hardly believe our eyes. There was such a mountain of food. After stuffing ourselves and laughing so much that we cried, we snuggled down under the enormous quilt on our bed, careful not to disturb Moat. Before we knew it, we were off in the land of excellent dreams. There were dragons everywhere, of course, but they were the happiest and kindest of dragons, and one of them looked just like Puff. It seemed like no time at all before we were woken by the sound of Puff crunching his way through his enormous barrel of fish. "Yuck," whispered Six. "Shh," I said. "We don't want to wake Moat." Six nodded, but it wasn't long before our tiny self stirred and broke into a loud cry. "Oh no," groaned Puff, turning his back to us. "Sorry," I said, "and good morning." "Is it?" he asked. "Will it ever be a good morning again? I'm going to lose my treasure and my life and my treasure." "We don't know that," I said. "Oh, be quiet," snapped Puff. "Feed your wretched baby." My heart sank. In my hazy early morning state, I thought I'd have to use my last feather to feed Moat. But before I could retrieve it, Jem said, "Look!" Lined up on our bed were 4 trays of breakfast. Scrambled eggs, fresh toast, fruit salad, orange juice, sparkling water, and chocolate milk were on 3 of the trays, and the 4th had a little dragon bottle full of warm, honeyed milk, 3 baby rusks, and some mashed banana. "The wish we made last night," said Six. Puff snorted. "Thank you for my fish. Good wishing." "That's okay," I said, feeling proud. "I'm a fast learner." Six fed Moat while Jem and I ate our breakfast. We were all more than a little nervous, but the food seemed to calm us down. When we'd finished eating, I fixed everyone's hair using my fingers and some water. Six looked her usual self with her two frizzy pigtails, but Jem's hair was filthy. I smoothed it down with some leftover lemonade and parted it on the side. "There," I said, "you look like a little gentleman." Jem grinned. "Good," she said. "A fierce gentleman, I hope, who isn't afraid of dragons." "Absolutely," I said. Puff rolled his eyes. "You'll soon be frightened of dragons if we don't hurry up," he said. "They'll have sent out a search party to find me, so when we're in the tunnels, no talking out loud." Puff looked stern. I started to give Jem a lesson in telepathy. "I know all about it," whispered Jemima. "I somehow figured out how to do it so that Moat and I could talk." I nodded, wondering what it felt like to telepath to a baby. "Are you okay?" I telepathed to Moat. I can't say that I heard words in her reply, but a huge wave of happiness flooded my mind. "She's very glad to be with us," said Jem, also using telepathy. "She is," I replied. As Six gobbled down her breakfast, she sent us the message, "I love scrambled eggs." Jem beamed, and so did I. We'd both heard Six, loud and clear.